studio to steer the conversation on the removal of NTSA from the Kenyan roads. To my immediate left is David Ohito, who is a journalist. Karibu sana. Next to him is Crispus Yankem, an analyst. And next to him is Oscar Awiti, who is from the SRC Risk Consulting. He's a managing partner. And last but not least is Simon Kimtai, who is the chair of the Matatu Owners Association. Karibuni sana. But first, before we get into the conversation, I would like us to listen to President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was making that order to remove NTSA from the roads. All right, we will be getting back. I hear there's an issue, so I know you've all heard that story. If you can just give your brief comments, what do you think? Is it justified that they should be removed from the roads? I'll start with you, David.
Thank you very much for having me set and to share this forum with Kimutai, man of the road, and Crispus, my good friends, and Oscar here.
Yes.
Well, my initial comment is that at policy level, we seem to be very reactionary, knee-jerk reactions. I'm not sure if the bishops who died, if they had come from, say, Turkana, the president would have had the same reaction. Yeah. But just because they are perceived to be coming from his political backyard, that reaction was seen. That said, does not mean that NTSA, created in 2012, has done a good job. Okay. No. If I was Francis Major, I would have packed my things and gone home long before even this. Right. There's not a single credit we can identify with NTSA. Instead, it has snowballed corruption beyond what it was, giving traffic officers, giving and taking bribes by traffic officers. Yes. And we have seen road carnage going from bad to worse. The ban on night buses, that for me was untimely. They should have had some, direction or even consultation with key people in the transport sector like David Kimutai and ask how many passengers travel at night. Yes. You just don't wake up and do things as if, Kenya is your home. No, yes. We need policy directions that make sense, which are informed by demands of the people. Crispus, do you share the same sentiments?
Absolutely, and I think this is heavy. But Ashley, first of all, let me offer my condolences to the victims of road carnage, because 250 people in a single month, that is actually far too many. You remember in the month of December, actually there was a lot of incidents on our roads. Yes. And yesterday's announcement in Meru, where I was also present, I think it was a welcome call, because the problem of this matter, in my own opinion, is actually unleashing an institution on the Kenyan public without a proper policy framework. And if there was any, I think it wasn't well thought out, even the implementation to speak, because we've seen, like my brother has said, that this is an institution that was just unleashed on the Kenyan public without even having sensitized them. Because if you ask me right now, just like any other Kenyan, what was actually the mandate of NTSA, if not a duplicate of the traffic police department? I think that is a major issue, and it is not just on NTSA alone. It actually speaks volumes about the many institutions that we have in the country. So where I differ with my brother Ohito is that the announcement was made in Meru, which is actually a political backyard of the head of state. I think that is unfair to make that statement, because we know Kenyans are Kenyans. Okay. Yes.
Oscar, do you share the same sentiments?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
First, I want to share that it's really sad. From independence in 1963, we've had road crashes increasingly, and it's being picked by the media. It is being picked by the bodies that have been present to manage road crashes. But unfortunately, what has been missing is the proper strategy that they're supposed to use, they're supposed to deploy to support, in managing these road crashes. When NTSA came to being, I think this was an act of parliament in 2012, alongside the Prevention of Terrorism bill of 2012. Yeah. Clearly, the role of NTSA was to harmonize responsibilities that were being carried out by the Transport Licensing Board, that was being carried out by, you know, the National Road Safety Council, amongst others.
Yes.
And so there was a lot of duplication of roles that already existed at that time. And the formation of NTSA was a beautiful thing. But I think lack of strategy, and again, aligning to the fact that it is becoming a monopoly of road engineers, made them actually lose their focus.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Simon, you've worked closely with NTSA. Do you think it was unfair for them, or it was justified for them to be pulled off the roads?
What I would say is that, let me first congratulate the President,
yes,
because this was overdue, because I'm on record having complained so much about NTSA activities. And we know very well that there's been confliction in roles. We have traffic department, which is actually enforcing the law. And then we have this body which was meant to formulate policies, coming in to duplicate the same. And now traffic policemen felt they were threatened, that they were going to be removed from the road. So what happened? There was laxity. And traffic policemen went ahead and instead of enforcing the law, they were busy collecting revenues from especially public transport. What I would say is that I think the President needs to go further than that by restructuring the traffic department in a way that it doesn't happen like what is happening now. We know very well that nobody on the roads adds value to road safety.
Yes.
Instead, they're doing their own things. And there are things that I would really recommend, and I've severally mentioned them, that there shouldn't be any static policeman on the road. There should be patrols. We have best practices in the world, and it is important that we just look at them and copy.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. For the sake of the viewers, those who have not had that bite from President Uhuru Kenyatta, we can just listen in right now.
Na leo hii nataka nitangaze hapa ya kwamba kama serikali tumeamua na tumesema, na ndio tuweze kuona kama we can get better order also in the operations za maofisa wetu ambao wanatenda kazi ya traffic, ya kwamba maofisa wote wa NTSA ambao wamekuwa mabarabarani, hawa wote sasa warudi kazi ya traffic, iwachiwe polisi. Kwa hivyo hiyo nataka kusema.
All right. Now, from NTSA to traffic police, I mean, Oscar, you said it's like a duplicate. So is it, you said it's a duplicate of roles. So are traffic police any better from NTSA? I'll start with you, David.
Well, I want to give a history on which I think Kimutai will bear me witness.
Yes.
That we had enforcement of traffic laws and order on our roads.
Yes.
During the time of Michuki. We didn't have NTSA. What has changed? Two, I agree with Kimutai again that we have best practices all over the world. A country like Switzerland, there's never a traffic police officer anywhere. With automation, a government that claimed it was digital. Why don't you simply have technology managing the roads? Why do you need police officers, even traffic police officers?
Like traffic lights?
Yes.
How has that worked out for Kenya?
It has never worked out.
Yes.
Because poor planning, poor policy in place, poor implementation, interests, and cartels that run the roads, including cartels from the owners of vehicles like Kimutai and company. Right. So for me, there needs a major radical surgery to have sanity on the roads. We have SGR. Why should we be having the trucks on the road? We should find out who are the owners, the real owners of the buses and trucks on the roads. Until you point a finger at that, I know Kimutai will be blazing at me. Yes. You will not fix the problem.
All right, Simon, would you want to respond to that first before you continue?
I think I want to correct the notion that they are owners who are cartels.
Yeah.
Public transport investors are trying to protect their businesses. And so they never cartels. One thing is that there's been that cry that the owners are not able to regulate themselves. And yet we have NTSA and traffic policemen breathing on our backs, not letting us be able to to self-regulate. One I would want to say is that this can be corrected. Unfortunately, we've lost so many lives, and but all is not lost. We don't need to have static policemen on our roads, because those have become toll stations where they just collect revenue for themselves. We need to have a patrol system. We don't need to, to go into reinventing the wheel. We have best practices in other countries where we don't even see traffic policemen on our roads, on their roads. But ours here, between here and Nakuru, you'll find 10 stops. And those 10 stops don't add value at all to road safety.
All right. Let's not just always throw the blame on NTSA. I mean, road users are so many, from pedestrians, motorcyclists, cyclists, motor vehicles, guys who are drivers, and not forgetting nowadays we have animals. So is it really the duty of NTSA to ensure that when the road users use the road are supposed to be behaving the way they behave, according to standards? Is it really NTSA's work to do so?
I think it is not NTSA's work, Ashley, if you ask me. And that's why the entire idea of NTSA was a wrong notion to start with. I want to agree with Ohito as far as the cartels on the roads are concerned, even as much as our brother Kim Tai would defend, because often, especially in Nairobi, when you drive, you see actually matatu operators trying even to force you out of the road, overtaking left, right, and center, overtaking even on pavements. And I think that is an annoying habit. And your question, whether it is actually the mandate of NTSA, I think the president won't have put it any better, because he said that it is upon all of us. And let's face it, Ashley, when you look at the driving culture in this country, it is actually responsible for the too many accidents that we are having in the country. It is not speeding. It is the culture of impunity, overtaking at wrong black spots, talking on phone when you're driving, not even giving way to the car approaching from the right. And those are basic things that you learn in driving schools. So I think when I saw the CS of Interior now, the Honorable Fred Matiang'i, and the Transport Minister, James Macharia, I think it was last year when they came up with a raft of measures. I think that is the proper way to go. If you ask me, we need to go back to the basics. Let all of us go back to school. Let the schools determine whether we are responsible drivers and what should be done. I think that is
You've
the conversation
talked
that
about
we
Fred
must
Matiang'i, and we have him on record saying such, and we'll be listening to it shortly. But before I come to you, Oscar, would you want to respond to that? Because the blame seems to be coming back to you.
It's not us, it's everybody. There is a culture of bad driving in this country. I think we've got to go back. Do we have proper training of drivers in this country? Do we have proper facilities? Do we have a school that can classify you? Because the corrupt practices has made everything go bad. We see that even if you're not able to move your vehicle from point one to point B, you'll be able to get a license in this country that is stamped all classes, and yet that we don't have proper testing. I would want to go to where I am as a PSV operator. I have all the time recommended that we need, NTSA has been giving what we call PSV license to a person who has a 4-year-old license. Not a person who has been driving for 4 years, but a 4-year-old license. What happens? This person is issued with a license to be able to drive a PSV vehicle. So now there is no testing or even classification. We go to trailers. There is no school that actually provides training for articulated buses or articulated vehicles, and even heavy commercial vehicles. There is none in this country. What happens? People learn while doing their jobs. So they are bound to make mistakes. Number two, the president talked about everybody, should take the responsibility for them to arrive at their destinations alive. Why should a driver drive, for instance, a matatu driver, take you at a speed of 120, and you know very well this vehicle speed limit is 80.
Yes.
Why can't you speak out? Why do we only complain after a crash? Kenyans like to be, to get to their places very fast, and not knowing that this person could end up probably getting involved in a crash. So there are many things that needs to be corrected. The attitude. First, we all have to play a role. We don't have just to sit there and have a blame game.
Right.
We know that everybody has failed.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that, and partially to disagree,
Yes.
that NTSA was not a good idea. We've seen these road transport agencies working very well in other countries of the world. We've seen it in Sweden. We've seen it in the United States. We've seen it in South Africa. What is happening is that NTSA simply missed the road. They quickly rushed into specific things that included, that created friction between them and the public.
Yes.
And so they never brought the public confidence as quickly as they were supposed to. One. Two, they missed on the strategy of implementing, harmonized protocols that they were formed to do. And then the management parties within the organizations that were collaborated to come together under NTSA,
yes.
I think are not working together. So that harmonization as a key mandate, as a key bucket of their KPI was missing. And if you look at the duplication of role
Yes.
With the traffic police, under the National Police Service Act, Section 24, of 2011,
Yeah.
the police under the traffic department have specific responsibilities that they're supposed to do. So, and this includes ensuring free flow of traffic, prevention of road accidents,
Yes.
Investigation of accidents, enforcement of laws, rules, and regulations, and to initiate road safety, sensitization. Today, you hardly see road safety sensitization from the police.
Okay.
Okay? You hardly fail to understand how the police engage public participation and getting to understand how to implement road safety rules. And number two, I don't know, and Kimutai would tell you, a lot of accident investigations are not being done properly. It has become a role of insurance. Today, if there is any accident on the road, it is up to the insurance, and they do it for purposes of claim. Who and how they invest. I have never come across a properly investigated report on a road accident. And therefore, you start missing, how to pick in pieces that are missing to put together on, working on a strategy.
All right.
And finally, I said managing this issue should be multidisciplinary. The moment NTSA does not bring together all other disciplines, including research functionality, including risk consultancies,
yes.
it becomes very difficult for them to even survey and find out how effective they've been
Yes.
to the people.
So my question still stands. Is it a good idea to go back to the traffic police who apparently were termed as corrupt when NTSA was being formed, David?
I think it was a question of sharing the loot, and
Yes.
so part of the problem of corruption. You heard of the story of a son or daughter of a cabinet minister, I don't know, somebody at the presidency,
Yes.
who has hired vehicles to NTSA. That tells you there's a big problem. And it becomes difficult to start enforcing things against your own boss or the son of your boss.
Yes.
And I don't entirely agree that traffic police officers were corrupt. It takes two for a bribe. We, the drivers, you've been flagged for exceeding speed limit, and you are very, itchy to say, I'll give you 1,000 shillings.
Yes.
No, we should be saying, you're risking your own life, you should not do it, and the penalties should be as harsh as they are in parts of Europe, in the USA. I'm waiting to see the first time we'll have a driver's license suspended for 2-3 years so that the particular driver knows the pain of missing that license. I'm waiting for the first time I will see ministers stop driving on the wrong side of the road with blaring sirens,
Yes.
yet they want the rest of the public to follow traffic rules. Those are the things that must start.
Yes.
There's no way you have these flag flyers running against traffic so dangerously with bodyguards shoving off every other person off the road. There must just be order. If it is a traffic jam, we don't care whether you're going for a cabinet meeting. You should have woken up early, or you should have timed yourself to walk like the rest of Kenyans.
Yes, all right. So the root of the problem still comes back to road users. So then what can be done in school level from when you're going to, driving school? Of course, NTSA wanted to implement a few things from, retaking your test after every 4 years and all. But right now, what can be done?
I think, like I've said before, we need to go back to the basics.
Yes.
Personal basics and institutional basics. Let us look at the too many schools that we have in the country. Are they really worth? Are they qualified to train Ohito to be on the road? And how long should this training be? I think that's where the crux of the matter is. Refresher courses. And by the way, I think I've always faulted the advent of automatic vehicles, because nowadays you only need to go to class, I think 3-4 days, and you're good to go.
Yes.
Number two, I think we also need to address the menace of the too many motorbikes that we have in the country. Number three, is it time that we have a conversation of expanding our road network? I think there was a contract late last year that was given to the US government, if I'm not wrong, to expand the road network from Mombasa to Nairobi.
Yeah, it's about to start. I read that.
Yeah, just about to start. I think that is where we as a country should be headed.
Okay.
We need to have designated roads that cater for people who want to drive at 160 kilometers per hour. And by the way, I think I need also to dispel the notion that driving or speeding is responsible for the too many accidents.
Yes.
I think I've said before that it is actually the bad habits or the impunity that every Kenyan driver wants to exhibit on the roads that is responsible for the too many accidents. So let us go back to the basics, relook at our traffic laws, relook at the responsibilities of individuals.
State of the roads.
State of the roads, that is another matter. I think if we addressed those concerns, and is it time again that we have a national conversation on this matter, because this issue cannot actually be addressed by a single department. We need a national conversation on that.
So it goes back to the government. All right,
Absolutely.
We want to take
Not
a
even
break.
the government.
Yes.
Even you as Ashley.
Even as,
Yes.
Okay, it comes back to we citizens.
Yes.
Okay, we want to take a break here on Morning Express, but don't go too far. We come back with more.